In today's show, I'm going to be showing you how to create a Google Shopping feed using Google Sheets and using a Google Shopping feed template that you can fill in easily. If you do watch right to the end, I'll also be covering some frequently asked questions about Google Merchant Center and Google Shopping and helping you avoid some of those pitfalls. Welcome to another Tea Time Show with me. I'm Mark Tillison, MD at Tillison Consulting. So we are an e-commerce consultancy providing managed services and training and consultancy to businesses like yours to help you make money online through Google Shopping and through your website. So if you need to hire us to help walk you through this, then you can find us at tillison.co.uk, and the same goes if you just want to go, look, I just need someone to do this for me, so we can do that for you and run your Google Shopping campaigns as well profitably. Anyway, enough of the sales pitch. Let's get on with showing you how to create a Google Shopping feed using Google Sheets. So for this walkthrough, I'm going to assume that you already have a Google Merchant Center account set up. There's a few other steps that you will need. Those are in other videos on our channel. There will be a link in the description for you to go and find those other videos. But you need to head into Google Merchant Center, head into the Products tab, and then you'll be presented with something that looks a bit like this. And you need to create a product. So this is effectively creating an inventory file. Contains your inventory of all of your products, your product categories, your titles, descriptions, your prices, the URLs, the links to the product pages themselves, the link to the images, things like that. This is your way of saying, hey Google, here is my inventory that I want to advertise on Google Shopping. You can create multiple feeds if you want to for different categories of products, for example. You could certainly do that. Depends how big your inventory is, but you could certainly do that. Okay, so our first step is picking the country of sale, and this is important. So I've got this just set to the UK, language English, and then shopping ads and surfaces across Google. You want to leave both of those ticked. There's a whole other show on surfaces across Google and how to get free clicks with Google Shopping. Again, I'll put the link in the description for you. So the next thing we are presented with is whether we want to create a Google Sheet or a scheduled fetch. Now, one thing I would say at this point is that generally speaking, I would recommend that you use either the Content API if you're on a system like Shopify, or using an XML file or even a comma separated value or a text file, something like that, that your website creates and places on your server, rather than using a Google Sheet. And the reason that I say that is that if your inventory changes quite frequently, so if you're adding new products or removing products as they go out of stock, and that's happening quite frequently, or you're changing prices or something like that, then using Google Sheets, what you're going to have to do is change that on your website and then come to the Google Sheet and then update that information again. So if you have a big inventory that changes frequently, or even a small inventory that changes frequently, that's going to become a bit of a burden. But I appreciate, and I've done lots and lots and lots of these projects, and it's not always possible to create that feed, or sometimes there's just junk data. So for whatever reason, you've arrived looking for how do I create this using a Google Sheet, and it's a bit of a workaround. It can create some problems, but I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, so we're going to pick Google Sheets, and we're going to call this Tillison Demo. Okay, and then we click Continue. And then we just need to authorize that, so we're off and running. And now this will generate a new Google spreadsheet from a template. Okay. Now the next thing that you want to do is also create an upload schedule. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to leave this as monthly on the 1st of the month, and generally speaking, I would set this to fetch at say 3 a.m. It doesn't really matter with the Google Sheet, but this is going to update overnight for you. So just as an aside, you can manually fetch this data as well. And what I would generally say is you probably want to set this to daily later on once this is configured and it's working and your data is in there as correct. But it's up to you. Generally, I do daily. And then if you're updating your Google Sheet, it will then pick up those changes at 3 a.m. and your new data will be live the next day. Okay, so we then create the feed. And what this is doing is creating a Google Sheet, Google Shopping template for you, which has got all the columns that you need ready for you to populate. Okay, so here we are. We've now got our feed name called Tillotson Demo, and we have a Google Sheet ready. Okay, so this is now our Google Sheet ready to go. And what I'm going to do in here is just insert some rows. And then we need a unique ID for each product. So, I mean, you literally could just say ID 1, 2, 3. If you have, say, a SKU code or something like that, then you probably want to use that. The important thing to think about with the ID is that this is the kind of primary link for all of your Google Shopping data. So when later on you have your campaign and Google has worked out the click-through rate and the response rate and the things that kind of the ads run better for versus others, or the things that you are getting sales on, that unique reference is the ID. So choose this carefully, because you really do not want to change this later on at any point if you can possibly help it. Okay, so I would probably put your SKU code in there. The next is the title of the product. So again, there's another video on how to optimize your titles and descriptions, but very briefly for this video, just think about what people would type into Google very specifically to find this product that you are selling. So if it is a Tassimo coffee maker of a particular model, and you know, it does its own grinding or whatever it might be, just make sure you're using as many of those words as you can so that people can find that product. So the same in the title, and then the description, same kind of thing. You want to think about the search terms that people are going to use, the unique features of this particular product, and that will help rank it in your Google Shopping campaign. So you want to put your title in here. Here is the title of product, and then description. So this is, I think, something like 5,000 characters, so you've got plenty. Again, you could be pasting this in from your website, so description goes here. Okay, so the link is you want to head to your website and grab the product URL. So grab this from here in your product URL, and you want to paste that in there. Okay, condition needs to be a specific set. There are so it's used new, or I think there's a back order as well. I'm going to assume that they're new. And then the price, again, there's a specific format for this. So this might be GBP 10, something like that. So it needs to be GBP 10 or 10 GBP. Again, I'll clarify that in the link. Availability, again, there are a limited limited number of options that you can choose here. So generally this is going to be in stock. I think you can have in stock, out of stock, or back order. If it's out of stock, it won't advertise on Google Shopping. So when you've got things coming in and out of stock, if you have to use a Google Sheet, then you could just mark that as out of stock and it won't advertise. Then when it comes back into stock, you just update it again. So the image link, so this is the picture of the product that you want to use in your Google Shopping ads, and again, you just want to paste that in there. The GTIN, again, another video specifically on GTINs and what they are and why you need them, but the short version just for this video is this is the Global Trade Identification Number. Think of it like the barcode that's on a product. If this is a globally available product, most of those products, like you know, mainstream phones and computers and video games, you know, sporting goods, anything like that that's kind of a, you know, a major brand, it would have a GTIN. If it does have a GTIN, as in the world it has a GTIN, you must use it in your Google Sheet. If you don't, you're going to get your products disapproved. Okay, so you need to find out what those GTINs are, and you must use them. The MPN is the manufacturer's part number. So with this one, typically that could be the GTIN, or it could be like a part code for, let's say, a washing machine spare or something like that. There isn't a reference that Google uses, so you don't have to make sure these are accurate. Generally speaking, it will be optimal for you to use them if you have them, the actual manufacturer's part number, because users do type them into Google, and that will help that product get found and make you sales. So you absolutely want to use the MPN, the manufacturer's part number, wherever you can. If you can't find it, then you can, and I've done this, I've used just the ID and put it in there as well. So if you're making your own products, if you are the creator, there is no GTIN and there is no real MPN, you could just put your own SKU, your own reference in there. It will work, but as I say, if they are kind of more branded products, then you want to use the MPN wherever you can. The brand attribute, the next one, absolutely you want to use that brand. What you'll find with Google Shopping is that brand searches convert much better than non-branded searches. So for example, if somebody is typing tumble dryer hose, non-brand, that could match any one of 50 manufacturers for different tumble dryers, right? Whereas if someone is saying, I have a Hotpoint XYZ123 tumble dryer hose, if you have used the attribute and that is in your title and your description, then it's much more likely to show your ad. Your cost per click is going to be cheaper because it's more relevant, and the whole thing just works a hell of a lot better. Also with brand, in your Google Shopping campaigns in Google Ads, you will be able to segment your products by brand or build separate ad groups and separate campaigns specifically for brand, but only if you've included the brand. So in here you'd want to put Hotpoint or Bosch or Indesit or whatever the brands of your products are. Let's just expand this one. So the Google product category, so this one, again, there is huge taxonomy. Again, I'll put the link in the description for you so you can go and find this. But Google has a specific taxonomy, a specific set of options for Google product categories. You have to use one of their categories. You cannot make them up. So you have to get as close as you can to the product that you are trying to advertise. Okay, so that's the Google product category, and you populate that. So that would normally be something like hardware, for example, but there are also subsets that might be hardware, let's say it's DIY, and there might be a subset of power tools or something like that. But if you reference that taxonomy, pick the one that is closest, the closest match to the product that you are trying to advertise, and then add that Google product category in. So what you need to include to kind of pass the tests in Merchant Center, there are lots of checks, and you will inevitably find that you will get some errors, but you absolutely must have 2 out of the 3 of these. So you must have 2 out of 3 of GTIN, MPN, and brand. So remember, the brand, there is no kind of check and balance, but you should use the correct brand. So if it's your own product, just put your own company name, it's fine. Or put the sub-brand, whatever it is, no problem. If it is a Hotpoint product or a Nike pair of trainers or whatever, then put Nike or put Hotpoint. Put that brand in there. Use normal sentence case, so capital N for Nike, capital A for Adidas, whatever. The MPN, as I say, you can make up if you want, but if there is a specific manufacturer's part number, then use it. That would get it found much more. And if there is a GTIN, the Global Trade Identification Number, you absolutely must find out what that is and you must use it, and there's another video on how to do that. If there is no GTIN, then you need to include the MPN and the brand. If you do have a GTIN and you have the brand, then you don't actually need to use MPN. In my experience, and I've been doing this a long time, give Google as much data as you can. If you have the GTIN and you have an MPN and you have the brand, just use them all. And in your title and your description, I would replicate that brand. Maybe not the part number, but if it's an accessory that fits multiple washing machines, I might, in the description, include the model numbers of the washing machines that hose fits, because that will help it get found as well. And then the last one on the end is the shipping. So this is the shipping price. You don't have to fill this in. You can set up a rule in Merchant Center to create your shipping policy. If it's free delivery, then again, that's a very simple rule to set up. However, if you have a variable shipping amount for this particular product, then you can, a bit like this one here, you can just put GBP 10. So let's just put these on the right rows, just so you can see what this looks like. So now let's just stop this wrapping. Let's just do that. So now we can see that a bit easier. So we now have a title optimized, description optimized. We have a unique identifier. We have a link to the product. we know it's new, we've got the price in the correct format, GBP10, it's in stock, we have an image link. I haven't populated, but you would populate the GTIN, and it has to be correct, otherwise you will get it disapproved. We have a gap for the MPN, we have a brand, we have a Google product category according to the taxonomy, and we have a shipping price. So that's the very simple, the simplest version of a Google Shopping, Google Sheet, Merchant Center feed, which you can use as a template. Now, on from this, the more advanced stuff is you can add additional columns for things like product type. And that one works like this one, except that it's your taxonomy. So if you have categorization through your website, for example, Google product category might go down to the level of fashion and dresses, but it wouldn't go down to maxi dresses or cocktail dresses or evening dresses or something like that. So if you want to segment in Google Ads according to your own categories, then you want another column in here for product type, and then you want to create your own taxonomy to use product type. You can also add another column for additional image links, and you can include 3 or 4 more images, variations. Maybe you've got different angles of the pictures of this product, and you can add additional image links. So all of those are possible. Again, it depends what you want to do with your inventory, what data you have. We can add custom labels to help you segment things in different ways, create rules in Google Merchant Center and Google Ads to be able to kind of manipulate those and change bids and things like that. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things you can do. But as far as creating the basic fundamental Google shopping feed using a Google Sheet, this is it. That basically is done. And if I were to populate this, this would then work. So now we have created our sheet. Let's assume that it's now complete. You've got all your IDs in there. It's all working okay. You would then go, okay, go and fetch that now. And that will go and crawl it, and it'll tell you if you've got any problems. So the thing we then might want to do is now update the schedule. So I now want to change this to daily or weekly, so that when I modify that data, I add new products, or I change prices, or I change the stock, in stock, out of stock, that kind of stuff, then basically this would pick up, say, overnight. Now, if you want to, you can leave it paused and then manually update it every time you refresh your data. Just one word of caution though, the data, if you fetch this today, this data expires in 30 days. Okay, so if you don't refresh this within 30 days, this will go out of date and your products will stop advertising on Google Shopping. So my recommendation would be that you enable the schedule, at least set it monthly when you are ready to go. If you're not ready, then leave it paused, just don't do anything, and just do everything manually, let it keep going and fetching. You just go, fetch, what problems have I got? Fix those. Fetch, what problems have I got? Fix those. Fetch, all clear, great. Now change your schedule to daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you want to do. And then as you update that product feed in future, your Google Sheet, you can manually go fetch and update if you want to. So those are your 2 options there. So if you are stuck with that and you're having some problems, as I say, you can find us at tillison.co.uk if you need some help, or do comment in the video. We love to hear from you, or just give us a thumbs up. But certainly, comment, and we'll try and get back to you and help if you can describe the issue that you're having. So we did promise towards the end that we cover some FAQs, some common Google Merchant Center, Google Feeds kind of problems. So let's cover a couple of those now. So how do I upload a feed to Google Merchant Center? So you just saw the example of how we do that with a Google Sheet. However, you can also add an XML feed. So the usual protocol is that if you're on WooCommerce or Magento or say BigCommerce, something like that, that you might have a plugin that generates an XML feed that writes to your server, let's say at 1 a.m. every night. Okay, and what that does is it queries your data in your database and then pushes out the title, the description, the ID, the brand, all of that data that we just looked at in the Google Sheet. But that is now updated from your data in your website. So that's much better than having to edit your website, edit a sheet, refresh, edit the website, edit the sheet, refresh, because your data will go out of sync. And if your data does go out of sync and the price is different on your website to what it is in your feed, you could get those products disapproved and they will stop advertising. Okay, so it's much more preferable to create an XML feed using the plugin for your e-commerce platform if you can, and then your any changes you make in the database are then reflected in the 1 a.m. update on the feed. Google Merchant Center then comes at 3 a.m., fetches that feed every single night, and then pulls that new data in. So your prices, your products, the things that are in stock, the new products you added, the ones you removed, the titles you changed, the descriptions you changed, all of those other things, they are all up to date within 24 hours of you changing it on the website. So you don't have to worry about changing it in two places. So there's a few different ways that you can upload a feed to Google Merchant Center. The same applies to how do I add products to Google Merchant Center. It's the same deal. And then how do you update your shopping feed? So as I said, if you're creating an XML feed, then as long as that is outputting every night at say 1 a.m, that's going to update automatically. If you are using a Google Sheet or even manually uploading, then you saw just earlier in this video how to update that Google Shopping feed. Second question is, does Google Merchant Center cost anything? The Merchant Center itself does not. A bit like Google Analytics, Google Merchant Center is free. Obviously you have to create an account, but using Merchant Center itself is free. No charge for that, no membership, no subscription, no nothing like that for Merchant Center. But if you are advertising your products on Google, you have to do that using Google Ads, although there is another video that I'll put a link in the description for, where some of the Google product listing ads, some of the Google product listings, that shopping tab, those are now free. You can get some free clicks with those. And then finally, what is the Google Merchant ID? So what you will find is this is the ID here, 1157 okay, and that's the ID that you will find if you're trying to connect Google Ads to Merchant Center. That's the ID that is going to show up. So it's an account number for Google Merchant Center, basically. So I hope you found that really useful. As I said before, do ask questions in the comments if you're stuck with something that I haven't covered or something's unclear. We do try and get back to you within an hour or two if you are stuck. If you need some more hands-on help or want someone to do this for you, you can find us at tillerson.co.uk.